Hello again, my name's John. I'm a retired cook from the northeast of England in the UK, and welcome to my latest video recipe. And in this one I'll show you how we make these Moorish savoury cheese scones. They're quick, they're cheap and simple to make. Soft, light and extremely tasty. They're traditionally served warm with lashings of butter accompanied by a nice cup of tea. And it's another one of our customers' all-time favourites. Definitely something the whole family would enjoy. You can view the ingredients list and full written method for this recipe on the recipe page on the channel's website. I'll leave a link in the description under the video, or you can click on the eye icon top right of the screen to take you directly to the recipe page. I'd also like to thank my Patreon, PayPal and Super Thanks supporters for their very kind help in producing these tutorial videos. Your amazing financial support really helps with ever-increasing equipment, ingredient and editing software costs. I'll be giving you all a name splash and shout out a little later in the video. Okay, let's get on with today's recipe. Right, I'll begin by mixing the dry ingredients together. Now I'm using self-raising flour for this recipe, which already contains some baking powder. But if you're using plain or all-purpose flour, you'll need to add an extra 2 teaspoons of baking powder to the recipe. And the first to go into the flour is the baking powder. Next is the 1 teaspoon of English mustard powder. This next one is optional. The turmeric adds a nice flavour but also helps with that vivid yellow colour. And apparently it's extremely good for you. Okay, using my trusty wooden spoon handle, I'll mix that together. You'll notice I've got a 1/4 teaspoon of salt on the ingredients list, but you only need to add that salt if you're using unsalted butter. Now I'm using salted butter, so I'm not adding any extra salt to mine. Okay, sift all of these dry ingredients through a fine sieve into a large bowl. And if there's any lumps of anything left at the end, just push it through with your fingers. Time to add the diced butter. Make sure that your butter is cold for this and diced small, approximately 1/2 inch cubes. Now using your fingers, rub the butter into the flour until it resembles fine breadcrumbs. If you wanted to, you could use a food processor to do this part, but by the time you get your machine out, use it, wash it, put it away, it works out much quicker doing it by hand. In real time, this took me around 3.5 minutes from adding the butter. Once that's done, you can add your grated cheddar cheese. Now I'm using 2 types of cheese, strong mature white cheddar for extra flavour and red Leicester for the colour, and that's equal quantities of both. You'll also need a little extra cheese for topping off the scones, and a little goes on the bottom under the scone too. Simply tip that into the mix and gently fold it in. Time to add the only wet ingredient in this recipe, and that's the 120 grams or 120 mils of milk. Now you can use full or half fat milk, entirely up to you. Pour it over the dry ingredients as shown. Now using something like an ordinary dinner knife, start cutting it together until all the liquid is combined with the flour. Once the milk is incorporated into the flour, start bringing it together with your hands. It'll seem a little dry at first, but don't be tempted to add any extra liquid. If you've added the exact correct amount, it will come together. Soon as you feel it's all together, stop. Don't overwork this dough. It's supposed to be a little crumbly, as you can see in mine. Now form the dough into a rectangle. To make 8 scones the same size as mine, you'll need a 6 cm or 2.5 inch scone cutter. You'll also need a greased baking tray. The size of the tray that I'm using is on screen. Before going any further, preheat your oven to 200 degrees Celsius That's 390 Fahrenheit or gas mark 6. Dust the bench with a little flour and add a little flour to the dough too. Now, using a rolling pin, very lightly roll it out into approximately 18 by 13 centimetres. That's a 7 by 5 inch rectangle, and it needs to be 2.5 centimetres or 1 inch thick. And if you're interested, we have these handy little rolling pins in the store now. Once you have the initial rectangle rolled out, you should be able to cut 6 scones from this first shape. And there's the first one cut, a work of art. And if you're wondering what that little gimbal camera is sitting in the bottom of the frame for, well, apparently it works much better if you press the record button. Now gently fold the scrap pieces together, and that should get you another 2 scones at this size. Now, you don't have to use a scone cutter like this one. In fact, you can cut these into square scones if you prefer. Back in the early 60s, my mother used to cut these into triangles. This next step is optional. Figure out where your scones are going to sit on the tray and place a little grated cheese down. Now, this will result in a nice toasted cheesy base to the scones. Place all 8 scones on top of the cheese on the tray. Brush a little milk on the top of each scone. Don't use egg wash for this, it goes way too dark in the oven. And I've actually remembered to press record this time. And for more cheesy flavour and decoration, you can add a little grated cheese to the top of each scone. But not too much. Putting too much cheese on top of the scone will prevent it from rising properly in the oven. And that's it. Time to get them into the preheated oven. Once they're in, you can set your timer for 15 minutes. And while those are baking, I hope you don't mind if I give my 4 recipe books a quick shout out. The books have lots of our favourite recipes from our work kitchens in them. And also, book 4 in this series is totally dedicated to bread recipes. Also, the skeleton style oven gloves, now supporting our company name, are also available too. Just check out the link in the description box to our website store if you're interested in any of these items. Right, that 15 minutes is up and it's time to get them out of the oven. And they're looking wonderful. They've risen very well, they feel light in the hand, and the aroma of that toasted cheese is amazing. I'll let them cool off on a wire rack for a few minutes, and when I come back I'll let you see what they're like on the inside, and have a little taste. Okay, it's been about 10 minutes. Time to cut one open and have a try. And before you say it in the comments, these are nothing like American biscuits. Different recipe altogether. And remember, when we put the cheese on the tray, that's what it looks like when it's baked. Time to try a piece with some of my homemade butter. And if you're interested on how to make butter at home, I'll leave a link in the description box below. Straight in for a big bite. Everyone should be able to make a good scone, and those are absolutely delicious. So tasty and so easy to make. Nothing better with a nice cup of tea. Hope you all give these a try, and the kids love them too. I'm sure your whole family will give these a big thumbs up. And as promised at the beginning of the video, here is the latest list of my Patreon, PayPal and Super Thank You button supporters. And they are John Anderson, Peter Stewart, Tashmika Bairu, Jens K3250, Meg Felling, Judy Murray, Stephen Gately, Francis, Thomas Pinto, Maggie Donaldson 8432, Renee Jensert, Wissam Saab 9841, and there's also one who wishes to remain anonymous. Thanks very much guys, I really do appreciate all that you do in supporting the channel. Well, thank you again for watching. Please like, share, comment and subscribe by hitting the circle above. If you do subscribe, activate the bell icon next to the subscribe button on my channel page. And by doing that, you'll be automatically notified every time I upload a new video. And in the meantime, here's a few of my other videos and playlists that you may want to watch. So, until the next time, be safe in your kitchen and bye for now.